following Oregon's win against Michigan State at Autzen, where they didn't look exactly on fire offensively except for Jordan James, who went 24 for 166. I had a question, right? Dylan Gabriel throws multiple interceptions in the same game, first time since 2022. It was, okay, Ohio State, you've seen what Oregon has thrown down against a common opponent in Michigan State. It's basically what you threw down against Michigan State the previous week. What, if anything, do you have to say for yourself going into this game against Iowa, where there's some things to play for? Some artificial, some that are real. The thing that I wanted to see most was, does the offense get off to a fast start for Ohio State? And the answer is yes and no. So, yes, because Ohio State became the first program to score a touchdown on its opening possession against an Iowa defense in 2 years. We got to take it back to October 2022 when Michigan went to Kinnick and was able to do just that. Also, Phil Parker won the Broyles Award last year for the most outstanding assistant coach in the sport. I get to vote on that award. I'm excited to find out just what we know following next Saturday, where we're probably going to get a good read on who some of the best coordinators are in the sport. But as I'm also looking at this, I had to notice what you noticed, which is Ohio State gave the ball away and could not really do much to separate themselves in the first half. Like, we're talking about throwing an interception and a fumble by Jeremiah Smith. Uncharacteristic fumble by Jeremiah Smith, and for some, what they would call a predictable interception for Will Howard. I think the Will Howard slander is a little too far, but I understand your point, right? You want an elite quarterback back there, and I'm going, that's not really what I would want back there necessarily. I want Craig Krenzel. Just don't throw the ball to other people. Hand the ball to the tailbacks, throw the ball to the wideouts, and let them cook. And you know what? For the most part, that is what Will Howard does well. We got to see Chip Kelly get him out a little bit more in run game, which I think is going to be a more featured part of the Ohio State offensive attack in weeks to come. And we saw a little bit more of what Ohio State plans to show better football teams down the line. However, they don't need to show much more because we know what they got and they know what you got. So 7-0 at halftime. You expect Ohio State to be up by quite a bit more. Well, for starters, let's talk about Alabama trailing by 2 scores to Vanderbilt at halftime, meaning that they are the first team to trail as a number 1 team to Vanderbilt at halftime since 1977. Perspective there is, head coach at Vanderbilt is Clark Lee. He was born in 1981, right? They scored 13 points on Vanderbilt, or on Alabama, in the first quarter. During the entire run of Nick Saban at Bama, which is damn near 20 years, Vanderbilt never scored more than 13 points, period, right? So there's that. And then I'm looking around at what other, teams have been doing or not doing, and Georgia in a dogfight with an Auburn team we know is not very good. So I'm inclined to look at this and go, all right, maybe this is the day where people are just going to win their clunkers, because we know that the next 2 weeks are going to be some of the most epic college football that we have seen all year, if not the most epic college football we're going to see until rivalry weeks, when it's going to get real thick, nasty, and dirty out here. But I need to point this out. The Ohio State offense is the Ohio State offense. We know this. Will Howard made a throw to Emeka Egbuka that was phenomenal. He has that in his bag. We just like to see it more often. He put it on Emeka's shoulder where only Emeka could catch it between 2 defenders, and then went for a touchdown. Jeremiah Smith, second straight week with a ridiculous one-handed catch. The quote that I thought was worth repeating is Chip Kelly says that dude shows up, he's 17 years old. And at 17 years old, it's not a matter of whether or not he can play for us in year 1. It's that he could play in the NFL right damn now for any team you want him to play for. And you've seen this with his physicality, with his speed. Yes, he fumbled a football, but he also is going to make plays for you. I said this on the tweets, and I'm going to say this to you. Jeremiah Smith is going to get Heisman votes this year. Be prepared for that, and that's as it should be. Keeps this up. Ryan Williams probably get Heisman votes this year too. Before Jeremiah Smith leaves the sport, he's going to win the Heisman Trophy, because we are talking about him at this level, and that's a big part of winning the Heisman Trophy. You have to have the biggest names in the sport, national hosts like myself, folks on television calling the games, talking about him being in the Heisman conversation, and then the latent Heisman voter, the person that doesn't really watch college football except to say maybe they watch their team but still somehow has a vote, they're going to wake up and go, oh, I know that person's name, and they're going to check it on a ballot. That's how those things work. That said, he is also doing the damn thing. 4 catches for 89 yards in this game with a touchdown. That's 22.3 per reception. And what was more impressive about this win for me, though, is not what Jeremiah Smith did or what Quinshon Judkins did or what Travion Henderson did or even what Will Howard did, which was pretty great, man. I mean, we're talking about by the time this game is out of hand, let's say 35-0, it was like 21 of 24 for 209, right? It's what the defense did that is impressive to me. You know, Igbenogson got his first interception all year. Denzel Burke has been great. We know what Caleb Downs is capable of. Lathan Ransom. Cody Simon out there finally making plays. And they heard Caleb Johnson when he said something, right? Now, Jack Sawyer probably took it a little bit too far when he says, hey, it wasn't a smart thing to do, but he didn't need to say it. We know it's not a smart thing to do. That's why it's a little bit too far. However, I'm going to tell you, Caleb Johnson came into this game with an outside chance of taking over the Heisman conversation because he came in averaging 171 yards on the ground. He's the second leading rusher in the country behind Ashton Jeanty, but he plays at a Power 5 program, and they happen to be playing an undefeated top 3 ranked Ohio State program. If he went for, say, 2 bills like he did against Minnesota last week, we're going to be talking about him differently. We're going to be talking about Iowa differently. This is a bunch of Iowa players that haven't beaten Ohio State, and probably heard too much about how Cade McNamara won at Michigan 2 years ago. To Cade's credit, he played that down. He's like, look, that's 2 years ago. I ain't played a bunch of football, and it's a different team, and it's a different program. Let's not conflate the two, which I enjoyed. Also gave him a little bit of cover because at one point, I'm looking down, and I see that Caleb Johnson had 14 carries, 48 yards. He ends up getting closer to 100 yards by the end of the game. I mean, like, toward the end of the game, we're pushing, I think it was like 86 yards and 5.7 yards per carry, which is great. But it ain't 171, right? And you needed 171 from him, plus a lot of help from guys like Luke Lachey at tight end and Reese Vanderzee at wide receiver. Like, you would need those things to come into fruition, but you also would need Cade McNamara to be able to push the ball down the field. He was incapable of doing that, right? Like, they put that man in jail. I mean, we're talking about going into the fourth quarter, 98 yards on like 14 of 20. You just can't expect to move the football for scores if you're not getting that much out of the passing game. And, you know, that's Cade McNamara's game, right? He's going to find the guy that is open, and he's going to hope that that guy can turn that into yak. He's not going to stretch the field for you and do a lot of air yards, which is, if you know, Ohio State, you know, okay, cool, we can go man-to-man out there or just match quarters and call it good, and we'll just come after you. And that's exactly what they did. They came after him. It was Jack Sawyer. It was JT Tuimoloau. It was an Ohio State victory. I've been trying to find a way to tell y'all Ohio State is going for broke in 2024. And the way that I've been doing that best is by repeating myself. They got to win the national championship this year. They made that play in January. You've heard people that didn't even know about the $20 million until August. Now, all of a sudden, talking about the $20 million as if they've known all along. Hell, we were talking about this in February, March, dog. And then God bless Ross Bork, who just decided to talk about it at Big Ten Media Days with Ross Dellinger at Yahoo Sports, who smartly put it in his column. I'm telling y'all, money's one thing. Ask Missouri about spending money. They got it, okay? Ask any big program about spending money. Florida State about spending money. They got it. It's not just the money. The money is an entry fee. You know, like, that's what it is. It's, if you want to have this kind of experience, you're going to pay for the privilege to have the opportunity to have this kind of experience. You're not guaranteed a damn thing, but you do have to pay the guarantee up front. That's what the money's for. So get past the money for a second. Talking about, hey, if they're going to be spending $20 million on players, cancel Christmas. It's Caleb Downs, dog. He is the best true freshman safety of the last, decade? The first to start for Nick Saban? He had 107 tackles as a damn true freshman at Alabama in 2023. Don't be stupid about this. Will Howard beat Texas Christian for the Big 12 championship in a year where Texas Christian played for the national championship. Don't be stupid about this. Quinshon Judkins is on a tier with Herschel Walker as a freshman tailback at Ole Miss. That's who they went to go get And then the guys that they're always trying to tell you, hey, don't just look at the transfers. Look at the guys that decide to come back. I understand that. Denzel Burke, he could have gone, right? Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau. We can keep going down the list. Mega Buka, right? The thing that I need you to know about that is, yeah, they came back, but they ain't got no gold pants. They ain't got no Big Ten championship, and they damn sure ain't got no national championship. And you know what CJ Stroud got to deal with as he is blowing up the NFL? He ain't beat Michigan. That's what he got to deal with. He got to deal with all of that. It doesn't matter that they're a missed field goal and a remarkably timed timeout from beating Georgia and probably winning the national championship. It's that he ain't beat Michigan. And I realize for some Buckeye fans, that's still what this is all about. We have to win on November 30th. And then we have to win the Big Ten championship. And then we have to win the national championship. But I'm trying to tell y'all, when it was 35-0, game is over. I know Iowa scored, but the game is over. You know, like, talk is cheap. But the Buckeyes were banging on Iowa's head for free, dog. Like, that defense was looking to shut them out. I'm sure they mad as hell. They gave up them 7 points. But when we tell you that Ohio State is working on something different, it ain't because I'm some sort of soothsayer or even that I root for Ohio State. You watch this show. I mean, you know who it is. I love watching teams that play with purpose. I got purpose. That's why I do this show. That's why you see me here on Saturdays busting my ass, right? That's why you see me late at night, Saturday into Sunday, busting my ass. That's why we do the show every single day of the week. I love it, and I hustle for a purpose. Since we all here, by the way, subscribe to the channel. We're close to 113,000 subscribers. It'd be very cool to get there by Sunday. And you know what? We're that close. You can be that person. I'm saying, when I see somebody working with purpose, when I see somebody working on a wavelength that I understand as hustle and ethic and I got to have it, I tend to watch them closely. And boy, them Buckeyes got to have it.